Welcome to Alien Shadow. If you love epic sci-fi stories where humanity shines, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for thrilling HFY adventures. Join us and be part of the journey. Asterisk, the stand-up from another. Star asterisk, the hall was packed with noise, flashing lights, and the scent of alien snacks hanging in the air. Humans and other species filled the seats, all waiting for the biggest comedy night on the interstellar station. The stage was bright. The host was a human with a sharp tongue and a wide smile. Next up, he said into the mic, we have Arkala of the Vorthian system. Silence followed. A tall, blue-skinned girl walked on stage. Her eyes glowed softly like moonlight. Her fingers twitched nervously, and her voice buzzed through the translator as she spoke. Why did the neutron refuse to pay the bar tab? She said, waiting, because it was neutral. A single cough echoed in the crowd. A few aliens blinked. A human near the front gave a confused chuckle. Someone in the back whispered, "Is this a joke or a math lecture?" Arkala paused. She looked down at her notes. Then tried again. Knock, knock. The audience stayed quiet. Knock, knock, she repeated, louder. Who's there? A bored voice answered. Arkala, she said, then blinked as if forgetting the punchline. Arkala is here. The room filled with awkward groans and whispers. The host stepped in quickly and smiled wide. Let's give her a hand, folks, he said, clapping as she walked off, looking lost. Brave soul. First alien to ever try human stand-up, backstage. Arkala sat on a metal bench, staring at the floor. Her long coat shimmered with tiny lights that pulsed like stars. She didn't cry, but her eyes were heavy. A human named Leo, the night's warm-up act, noticed her sitting alone. He walked over with a drink in hand. Hey, he said, you okay? She turned to him slowly. Was my humor defective? She asked. I studied 3,000 Earth jokes and rehearsed 500 knock-knock sequences. Leo smiled. Yeah, but humor isn't just about knowing jokes. It's timing, it's feeling, it's a little magic. Magic, she repeated, confused. There is no record of laughter spells in your databases, he laughed. It's just a saying. Look. Why are you even doing this? Why comedy? She stood up slowly and looked at him. Her glowing eyes searched his face because humans rule the airwaves. The broadcasts, the voices of power, she said. And you rule it with laughter. Leo raised an eyebrow. You think jokes give us power? Your leaders are celebrities. Your soldiers tell jokes before battle. Even your first contact messages to alien species include puns, she said seriously. So yes, I believe laughter is your strongest weapon. Leo blinked, then grinned. You might be the weirdest person I've ever met. I like it. Arkala's face softened, a small smile forming. I want to learn your magic, she said. Will you? Teach me. Leo nodded slowly. All right. But only if you promise not to tell jokes about neutrons for at least a week. Deal, she said, without blinking. Over the next few days, Arkala followed Leo like a shadow. She recorded his jokes, watched old comedy shows, and practiced in front of mirrors, but it wasn't working. Every line felt too stiff, too alien, too calculated. You're thinking too hard, Leo said, one night after another failed routine. You need to feel the moment, not analyze it. I do not possess gut feeling as humans do. She replied, maybe not. Leo said, but you've got heart. I see it every time you fall flat and still want to try again one evening. In a quiet cafeteria, Arkala sat across from Leo and attempted a joke of her own. What do you call a creature who eats wires, speaks backwards, and dances like a malfunctioning robot? She asked. Leo shrugged. I don't know what. Me? She said with a perfectly straight face. Leo burst out laughing. spraying synth juice across the table. Finally, he said, wiping his mouth. "Now that was funny. I did not intend it to be," she replied calmly. "That's what made it perfect." He grinned, but Arkala was thinking. Her programming told her she should not have made a mistake, yet the mistake had caused laughter. Was this the magic? Was failure part of humor? Later that night, she stood alone in her room, looking into a mirror. She practiced raising one eyebrow, something Leo had shown her. She spoke softly, rehearsing a line, "I may not understand your humor. Human," she said, watching her reflection. "But someday, you will laugh because of me," outside her door. Leo had been listening. He smiled and walked away, not wanting to interrupt her moment in a corner of the station. A shadowed figure watched old footage of Arkala's failed performance. Their fingers tapped angrily on a screen. Data patterns circled her image, and a red mark appeared over her face. "Too dangerous," the voice whispered. "If she ever makes them laugh, for real, we lose control." Back in her room, Arkala tried another joke, and this time, she laughed softly at her own delivery. It was the first time she'd ever truly laughed, not as a code or habit, but because something inside her understood. And something inside her had changed. The alien who studied jokes. Arkala stood on a crate in the maintenance deck, telling jokes to a confused-looking cleaning drone. The drone buzzed quietly, scanned her face, and beeped in error. She sighed and crossed her arms. "That was my best material," she whispered. "Even the machine rejects me." Behind her, Leo leaned against a wall and clapped slowly. "You're improving," he said with a grin. The robot didn't explode. "That's a win." Arkala tilted her head. "Is that humor or insult?" "A bit of both," Leo replied. "Welcome to human sarcasm." She made a note on her pad. Sarcasm, a humor form that hides meaning under false statements. Leo chuckled. "You know, you study jokes harder than I ever studied for exams." "I must understand your kind," she said. "Humans use humor like armor and like weapons. I want both." Leo's smile faded slightly. "You really think jokes can change the galaxy?" She nodded. "Yes, they create connection, trust, control. Your species uses them to distract enemies, calm the fearful, and win crowds." He thought about that, remembering how many tense situations on the station had been eased by a single joke. Arkala wasn't wrong. "Okay," he said. "Then, let's try a different approach." He led her to a small human bar on Deck 9. There were no big stages, no cameras, just old furniture and low lights. "This is where real comedians are born." Leo said, "Here, they tell stories, not just jokes." Arkala sat beside him, her eyes scanning every detail. She listened as a grizzled pilot told a story about surviving an asteroid crash by strapping himself to a toilet. The room erupted in laughter. He told of danger and added an absurd object. She observed that combination caused the laughter. Leo smiled. "Exactly. Humor is surprise and truth smashed together for hours." She stayed silent, absorbing everything. Then she asked Leo a question he didn't expect. "Do you think I'm funny?" He looked at her serious face and smiled. "You're getting there?" But someone else in the bar wasn't smiling. A tall alien in a dark coat sat in the corner, watching her closely. He tapped a device hidden in his sleeve, and a tiny red light blinked. The next day, Arkala woke to find her door broken open. Her notes scattered, her joke pad missing. Leo arrived minutes later. Eyes wide. "Who would do this?" he asked. Arkala's voice was calm, but cold. "Someone who fears humor." They checked the station logs, but the security feed was wiped. The only clue was a smeared message left on the mirror, written in alien ink. "Silence is safer than laughter." Leo read it aloud, then turned to her. Do you want to stop? She shook her head slowly. No, now I know it works. It frightens someone. That means it has power. They moved their practice to the deep maintenance tunnels, where cameras didn't reach. Rakala now told stories, not just lines. She used emotion, surprise, even self-mockery. Once I told a joke to a warrior elder on my homeworld. She said in one story, he ordered me to clean the blood pit for 10 days. That was the reward for making his eye twitch. Leo laughed, but it was more than just a chuckle now. It was pride. She was turning pain into comedy, and that was something rare. Arkala even made jokes about herself, her robotic walking style, her failed knock-knock jokes, her obsession with research, and the more she joked, the more human she sounded. One evening, Leo brought her to a secret open mic run by humans and friendly aliens. She stepped on stage, held the mic with shaky hands, and looked at the crowd. When I first tried human comedy, she said, they laughed like they were in pain. Now, I hope I cause pain again, but this time, the good kind, the crowd laughed gently. Encouraging her, she launched into her routine, mixing stories from her planet with absurd observations about humans. Your species wears socks to bed, but fierce spiders smaller than a fingernail, she said. On my world, we sleep in toxin pits and fight six-legged beasts with sharpened spoons. Laughter rolled through the room. Arkala smiled, this time without effort, but outside, someone else watched the open mic through a cracked screen. She's spreading influence, said a voice on the other end of the comm. Her jokes contain encoded ideas, messages against structure, hierarchy, then silence her. Came the reply, before comedy becomes rebellion, back inside. Leo and Arkala shared a high five. That was amazing, he said. You had the whole room laughing. I did not fall. Forget my lines or panic, she said. Is that what humans call killing it? Leo grinned. Exactly, you killed it. She smiled wider than ever before. But something in her eyes had changed. Not just pride awareness. She now understood that her words didn't only make people laugh. They made them think, question, feel, and someone out there didn't like that. Laughter as a weapon. Asterisk the crowd's laughter still echoed in her ears as Arkala stepped off the stage. Her hands were shaking, not with fear, but with something new. Power. Leo handed her a towel and water. You were fire tonight, he said. I saw a Glarnock merchant spit out his drink from laughing. Arkala blinked. That is a rare reaction. Are liquids expensive on his planet? Leo laughed, but then his smile faded. You're getting better, way better, and that's starting to scare someone. She tilted her head. Because I am funny? No, he said. Because your humor is hitting nerves. Your jokes sound innocent, but they're cracking at real things like corruption, control, truth. That night, in a silent corner of the station, a group of high-ranking officials from various alien species sat around a dim table. Holograms displayed scenes of Arkala's performances, each joke translated and analyzed. She jokes about broken systems. One of them hissed. She's planting questions in the minds of the weak. She's just a comedian. Another said, a girl with a mic. No, the first one replied, she's a spark, and sparks start fires. Meanwhile, Arkala sat in her small room, watching old Earth footage of revolutionaries. She didn't understand war, not in the human sense, but she understood rhythm, timing, and now change. She wrote new lines, mixing sharp observation with playful insults. Her next set would not just entertain, it would expose. I plan to perform 3 truths and a lie, she told Leo the next day, but the lie will be the only thing they believe. Leo looked at her, unsure whether to be impressed or worried. You sure you're still doing this to make people laugh? She stared at him, serious. If they laugh while waking up, that is success. The open mic crowd had grown. More aliens came each night. Some brought notepads, others brought reporters. Tonight, Arkala took the stage with confidence. She smiled at the audience, then began 3 facts. 1 lie, she said. Let's play. Fact: your trade council takes 70% of your food credits. Fact: the recycling program is a front. For mineral mining, fact: your station's gravity failures are intentional, to reduce energy costs. And the lie: I am just a girl trying to be funny. The room was silent for a moment. Then someone laughed. Then another, and then the whole crowd roared. She continued, delivering punchline after punchline each. Joke was a blade wrapped in feathers. It cut softly, but in the control tower above. A red alert blinked. A station administrator was watching, jaw tight. She's rallying them with jokes. He said, issue the silence order. The silence order was a code used only during riots or security breaches. It triggered a cascade of responses: sensor dampening, crowd monitoring, and worst of all, performer tagging. As Arkala finished her set and bowed, a small blinking chip attached to the back of her collar. Unnoticed, later that night, as she and Leo walked the halls, they felt the tension, the station. Lights flickered unnaturally. Guards were posted near usual civilian zones. Something feels off, Leo muttered. We should lay low for a bit. Arkala disagreed. If they fear my voice, I must speak louder. The next evening, the stage was surrounded by hidden cameras. Masked as decoration, drones floated above. Silent before she stepped out, Leo grabbed her hand. Are you sure you want to push this? Yes, she said. Calmly, I do not want to be safe. I want to be heard. Her set began like the others, but she quickly steered into dangerous ground. Do you know the difference between a dictator and a janitor? She asked. The janitor actually cleans. Up Mess's laughter burst from the crowd, but security officers were already on the move. Why did the station administrator cross the corridor? She said, pausing for effect to stop freedom from reaching the food court. The moment the joke landed, lights flashed red, alarms rang. Drones swooped in, chaos broke out. But something unexpected happened. People laughed harder. Some started chanting her name. Others booed the security guards. Leo jumped on stage and pulled her back. We have to go, now. They ran through side tunnels as warning sirens blared. Behind them, a voice shouted, into the station comes. This performer has violated speech protocol 17C. She is to be detained immediately. They reached an old cargo bay, locked the doors, and caught their breath. I think. You just started a movement, Leo said, eyes wide. I only told the truth. Arkala whispered, but I dressed it in laughter. The next day, the station was divided. Some aliens called her a hero, others called her a threat, but a cross. The galaxy, her jokes had already been copied, shared, and translated. And for the first time in centuries, people were laughing and questioning at the same time. The last laugh that changed everything. Raikala sat on the edge of a maintenance pod, her feet dangling over the dark energy duct. The glow below painted her face in soft blue light. She didn't look afraid, not even tired, just thoughtful. Leo stood nearby, pacing in small circles. We can't go back, he said. You're a wanted voice now. Not just a comedian. Arkala nodded. Yes, I am marked, but they cannot. Silence laughter once it has echoed across the station. Posters of her face began appearing. Not printed by rebels, not spread by pirates, but by fans. They called her the stand-up rebel, and quoted her jokes like gospel. One read, if fear controls your leaders, maybe it's time to laugh at them instead. The station council gathered in panic. 12 species. Speaking in sharp tones and trembling at the thought that comedy could lead to rebellion. She is poisoning minds with punchlines. One barked, what if others begin to mock the system? Humor is spreading faster than law, another hissed. If we arrest her now, she becomes legend. Someone leaned forward, voice low. Then we don't arrest her, we erase her. Back in the shadows of Deck 17, Arkala rewrote her. Routine one last time. This time, she didn't write jokes. She wrote truth in disguise. This performance, she said to Leo, will not be for laughter only. It will be a goodbye or a beginning. Leo swallowed hard. They'll try to stop you. Then I must go where they cannot reach, she replied. He stared at her. And where is that? She gave a small smile. Inside their minds. The open mic that night was held in secret, but somehow every seat was filled. More aliens than ever before packed the dark room. Even some off-duty guards sat quietly at the back when Rikala walked onto the tiny stage. There was no microphone, no lights, just silence. She stepped forward, looked around, and spoke. Hello, Galaxy. The room stirred. Her voice was clear and calm. Let's begin with something simple. She said, truth. Truth. You work 10 hours a day to afford 3 meals that barely feed you. Truth. You laugh at the wrong jokes and cry at the right news. Truth. You are told to obey. To stay small, to follow lines drawn by liars. No one laughed, no one moved. And the lie, she said, is that it must stay this way. A single chuckle escaped someone in the middle row. Then another. Then it turned into full laughter knot. Because the words were funny, but because they hit so hard, so honestly. That laughter was the only defense. I was told jokes can't change the world. She continued, but neither can silence. Suddenly, drones buzzed above. Alarms clicked. On security forces stormed toward the room. Leo, standing near the back, saw them coming. He triggered the hidden transmit signal they'd prepared earlier. In seconds, Rikala's voice was broadcasting through hundreds of hidden feeds across the station. Every screen, every speaker, even emergency terminals played her words live. Some say I'm dangerous. Her voice rang. But I've never fired a weapon. Only words. I never led a war. Only a laugh in the control tower. The administrator slammed his fist on the table. Shut her down, but it was too late. Her voice wasn't just on the station. It was on ships. Relay satellites, even prison comms. She had gone viral without data. She had become unstoppable through sound. Guards burst into the comedy room, but the audience stood and blocked them. Not with weapons, just with silence and stares. No one arrests a joke, someone said. You'd have to cage us all. The guards hesitated for a moment. Power meant nothing. Weapons meant nothing. The room was too full of belief. Arkala stepped down from the stage and walked toward the front line. Her eyes glowed, but her hands were empty. I surrender, she said gently, but I will do so laughing. Then she looked at one officer, smiled, and said, Why did the enforcer eat his badge? The guard blinked, confused. Why? Because he wanted to taste real authority. She said with a wink. The crowd burst into wild laughter, even. The guards smiled, confused and helpless. They didn't arrest her. They couldn't. Because when the laughter began, everything else stopped making sense. The council disbanded within days. Fear turned to embarrassment. The idea of punishing a girl for jokes became a galactic joke itself. And Arkala, the girl who once couldn't finish a knock-knock joke, was now called the comedian who brought down silence. Leo met her again months later on a small moon colony. You really did it, he said, watching kids imitate her jokes. I didn't start a war, she said. I just told them the emperor had no pants. He laughed, and what now? She smiled. Now I teach others how to turn truth into comedy. He raised a brow. A comedy school? No, she said. A rebellion with better punchlines.